Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is how finding safety in the body creates big leaps. And I was having a conversation with someone this week, and we were talking about trauma and releasing trauma and how we can find our bravery and our courage to take those big leaps. And it is not as we are led to believe. So about 35 years of my life, I was led to believe that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and you have to push on through. I pushed on through for 15 years in my corporate job, working in London, pushing through that. And this statement actually does not hold up when we look at the neuroscience either. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The actual phrase that is correct is safety in the body and positive resilience is what makes you stronger. And this is backed up by the neuroscience around positive psychology. So if you want to know more about positive psychology, if you want to learn how to teach, shameless plug for my quantum alignment program last few days, to join that, I'm going to be training you in how to apply positive psychology practices, not only to your own life, but also to using it with your clients as well, with your families. Like, I've seen some incredible ripples happen from the course. So there's two things we need to look at when we are creating those big leaps, because the big leaps don't start with the big leaps. The big leaps start with the small. And the big leaps start with finding the safety in the body. So this conversation I was having this week took me back to the research I did around trauma and the course I did on trauma. And the most mind-blowingly simplest thing ever, right? If you're going to learn one thing from this, the simplest thing ever about trauma is the reason that trauma is held in our bodies, in the soma, in the body, is because of an incomplete fight or flight loop. So anytime we have felt the effects of stress, perhaps a stressful situation happening, and our body has wanted to fight or flight, and we haven't been able to give it that fight or flight in that moment, that is trauma. That is how trauma is created, okay? It is simply a lack of fight or flight. And how many of us as children were told, oh, don't have a tantrum, don't be angry, hey Joe, don't, how many of us shut that down as children, right? We mustn't be these things. But these responses, if directed safely, are actually needed to heal our nervous system and are needed so that we don't carry on carrying these traumas, because that trauma loop needs to be closed. So if you have children, or like me, nieces or nephews, if they are experiencing some strong emotions and they are heightened, then encourage them to use that in their bodies in a healthy way. So we've got a baseball bat and some pillows, which we sometimes use. So that is obviously fight, that is a safe release for fight. For flight, because flight is my main one, right? I will allow myself to go and stomp it off, go for a walk, move around, dance around. So Joe, in that experience where you were told to suck it up, where does that go? Where do you think that goes? Goes in the body. Goes in the soma, it's held in the soma. So if you were told that suck it up, Joe, right, and your body is needing, so think about two ducks. If you see two ducks at the pond fighting, and the ducks will fight, and then the ducks will come up and they'll flap it off, okay? That is the duck releasing that fight, flight, releasing the cortisol from its body. Yeah, I know you know, really, Joe. Yeah, so that is what we need to do. We need to simply close these trauma loops. And this research on trauma is so recent, and so many things are focused on talking therapies or the mind, or even, the subconscious mind. You know me, I love the subconscious mind. I love doing shadow work with my clients. But this is even deeper than that, because yes, we can deal with, okay, let's deal with the conscious, and yet we can talk about it consciously. We can talk about the subconscious, and we can go in and do subconscious work and shadow work and look at the shadow, look at the subconscious. But we also need to consider the body. We need to give the body an opportunity to release from the soma. Okay, so all we're looking at doing is closing that trauma loop with a fight or flight. So when we do that, we find safety in the body. So there's only two things I really want to share with you in this live, is that we need to have, firstly, we need to have positive psychology practices in our lives, because the brain is wired towards the negative. And this is why trauma happens as well, right? The brain is wired towards the negative. We're constantly on the lookout for threats. We're on the lookout for things that are going to harm us, because we have not evolved much since caveman times. So we need to use positive psychology to bring in that joy, bring in that flow, bring in us using our strengths and our gifts, so that we are flourishing from a neuroscientific perspective. And we also need to close these trauma loops and have the opportunity to close these trauma loops, which creates safety in our bodies. And for so many of us, we've carried the unsafety for many, many years. We've carried that because we haven't closed that trauma loop, okay? So, and the other great thing about these practices is, and I talk about this, so every 6 weeks we do breath work in the membership, we do quantum breath work. It is a powerful dynamic release. And every time we do this, I always say it doesn't matter when that thing happened. We don't have to go back to childhood and understand, oh, I was age 5 when I was told to suck it up and that's when it exactly happened. We don't need to know that when we're working with the body, because we're simply releasing the trauma from our bodies, okay? So, I'm just thinking if there's anything else I was going to mention. So we need to find that safety first. We need to find that positive resilience first. We need to find ways to regulate our nervous system. And I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a bit of a just do it mentality. So we know in the quantum space that we are, we're thinking about what are, the thoughts and the words and the actions of our future self. We know that we need to step into that version of ourselves now, but there is no point stepping into that version of ourselves if we haven't got the basics in place, right? Because if we step into that and we suddenly create that lifestyle for ourselves, I know it doesn't happen like suddenly, like lots of magic has happened to me last couple of weeks, but our nervous system will not be able to handle it. So we need to get the safety in place first. And this also, so I'm going to talk about money here as well, this also links into receiving money, because if we, time and time again, I mean, I've got sensitivity like running all the way through my profile. Every time I take care of my sensitivities and I set boundaries around my sensitivities, and that might mean taking myself away for a solo retreat, going in the middle of nature on my own somewhere. That might be saying no to social events, saying no to going to places like pubs where there's a lot of energy. I receive money. Every time without fail, when I go into that like almost hermit mode, I receive money, because my sensitivities are a direct channel to my abundance. Your sensitivities, if you're watching this, are a direct channel to your abundance. So not only do we create safety in the body, it enables us to move into those, what eventually becomes a quantum leap, but we also receive money when we do this practice as well. It is all inextricably linked. Our ability to receive, our ability to be still, our ability to find safety in our bodies. We can step back, and the more that we can rest, and the more that we can find safety, and the more that we can find joy and bring in those positive psychology practices, we naturally move into action. So the feminine leads the way. This is not what we're led to believe, right? We're led to believe we take the action first and then we rest. But it is actually the opposite is true. We rest, we regulate, we take the time, we surrender, we come back, and what naturally happens is the inspiration, the divine downloads pop in. They pop in like this, and we naturally move into action. So time and time again, every time I have taken myself away or have said no and taken myself away, like at home, you know, stop doing networking, only doing like the basic client calls and like shutting everything else down. Every time I do that, naturally I get the divine download and I know what actions I'm taking. So I'm already in action, and with that comes the bravery and courage. It's like a slingshot. You're pulling back, you're pulling back, you're pulling back, you're pulling back. You're giving space, you're giving space. Your energy is pulling back, it's pulling back, it's pulling back. Bam, comes in. Masculine energy can come in now. The actions and go. And of course around that we've got the structures as well. So we've got the, you know, how is your week scheduled? How is, you know, what do you do certain days? What does your diary look like? What systems have you got? You know, there's the structures part of that as well, which is really important, because the structures also, so this then becomes a bit like chicken and egg, because actually the structures then allows the flow. So like I have a couple of days a week that are my flowy days. It's like I've got the structure and then I flow within them. But it is the feminine that leads. So the more you can step back and create that safety, close those trauma loops, bring in those positive psychology practices, do shadow work on your triggers, because those triggered emotions are also linking into that unsafety and will be manifesting. If you're walking around with shadows, that's going to be manifesting in your life. So you're going to start to attract things that are vibrational match for those shadows, that are then going to cause you to experience more trauma, and then need more trauma loops to be closed. So we need to close those kind of belief systems that are behind those two. And then when we do that, and we step back, we step back, we step back, the bravery and the courage just comes. And this is how I got onto TEDx. And so many people ask me, how did you do a TEDx? You're an introvert, you're autistic, you're HSP. How did you get on that stage? And I think they're expecting some kind of like, oh, like, yeah, I did this storytelling course and then I did this and I did that. But it was boundaries, say no, find safety in my body, and have the positive psychology practices in place. And it naturally came. It naturally came. I pulled back, I pulled back, I pulled back. I said, no, 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 no. Protect my space, pull back, pull back, pull back. Bam, on that stage in front of 23,000 people. And then afterwards, pull back, rest, recharge, rest, recharge. Then all the other speaking events came in after that. And out I went again. Okay? So we need to, so this is all the work. This is the work that we need to do, okay? To pull back, to create safety, to have rest, to have spaciousness. Then the actions naturally come, and we naturally get into that bravery and courage. So we're not leading with bravery and courage, because if we lead with the bravery and courage, this can put us into that toxic masculine energy, which I think a lot of us have been in the past, right? Push through, push through. I'm just going to go be brave today. No, that is not how it works, okay? We need to start with the safety, start with the positive psychology practices, and it naturally comes. The bravery naturally comes, okay? So I hope this makes sense. Any questions, let me know. And it is the last few days. We've got an incredible group in Quantum Alignment. It is the last few days to come in and join us. It'll be the last round to become, if you want, you don't have to do the certification option. There are 3 options. You can do self-led, because because I know you are all super self-led and work on yourselves and you're accountable. We've got the group option, we've got the lovely group. I am so excited to start the calls. And then there is the option to do the certification option, be certified by me, and I will sign off a client session and sign off your reflective piece on the course as well for you to become certified in the tool. So you will learn positive psychology techniques to also teach your clients as well as the shadow work, the energy clearing, working with the quantum field. There's a whole module on relationships and trauma bonds. There's a module on money. There's just so much in there. I'm so excited. This is my 18 years of learning and experience packaged up into this incredible offering. So if you'd like to join us, I'll put the link in comments for you to apply. Put me a message. And if you have any questions about anything that I've shared today, it was just coming through me that I needed to share it, then let me know. Thanks for watching.